Hi, and welcome to this installment of Frank and Mary here in Westborough. The COVID-19 edition, if you haven't seen the show, my name is Art Bergeron. I'm an elder law attorney. I work at Myrick O'Connell, actually right here in Westborough. But this isn't about elder law. This is about my friends Frank and Mary. If you've ever seen one of my presentations or seen these shows, you know my friends Frank and Mary, their goal in life is to live in their house until they die and be buried in the backyard. And if that means they're in Westborough, that means they want to stay right here. We're doing these shows as the COVID-19 edition, in which Frank and Mary have been way too long in their house and just want to get out of the house. But if they can't do that, they want to know what's going on out there while at the same time being safe. And that's really the purpose of these shows. And Shelby Marshall, my wonderful co-host, your selectman here in Westborough, has been finding great guests, people whom you need to know, and to talk about programs you need to know about, and to see how things are going along here as you all deal with this. So Shelby, whom do we have today?
Hi, Arthur. Good morning. Great to see you. I am so excited that we have Phil Kittredge here from the Westborough Food Pantry. So Phil, welcome.
Welcome. I'm glad to see you guys too. I've heard so much about you two.
Oh, we're world famous at this point.
And he's going to be a busy guy, the food pantry guy, that's going to be intense.
Yeah, so Phil and I have had the pleasure of working together on Westborough's task force, which was established several weeks ago. I've lost track of the calendar at this point. So this is about our 70th Zoom call, I think, that we've been on. But Phil has been in Westborough for many, many years. And I asked him to come on because, to your point, Arthur, food insecurity is one of the top needs that we're hearing from our residents as they're calling in on our resource line, and as our human services departments and teams and organizations such as the food pantry are hearing from residents. So I asked Phil to come on just to give us sort of a where are we at today, but more important to look at as now the state starts to open in phase 1 through 4. What is the food pantry starting to look like as we go forward? So Phil, sort of gave you a heads up of how this would run, but tell us about kind of what you're doing right now to kind of meet the needs of folks that are food insecure.
Well, we're doing a couple of things. When this all started, we brought down some copy paper boxes full of food down to the senior center, so that they had them immediately available if any senior came in that was had issues with food, which we have not had very many because most of the seniors are still getting the Social Security checks. Everything for a lot of them, not much has changed other than they're stuck in their house. The closure of the building. We had one of our volunteers, assumably was diagnosed with COVID-19. So the pantry had to be deep cleaned and sanitized. That took 3.5 days to get that done. And naturally, a lot of our volunteers are seniors. A lot of them have underlying medical issues. They were very apprehensive about coming in. So it was really a no-brainer that we really had to close at that point. It was a combination of things. So in the meantime, what we did is we put the word out looking for donations of gift cards, or a regular donation. We could purchase gift cards. And we anticipate, so far we've given out over $40,000 worth of gift cards to the residents of Westborough. And we expect to distribute another $15,000 to $17,000 worth of cards before the end of the month. So we dipped into our own treasury. We had a substantial gift from the Hannah Kane golf tournament. Aaron Polito started that out many years ago, and it's gone right through the different reps. And Hannah Kane has kept it up, and she's built it up bigger and better. Mm-hmm. So normally money that she provides to us, we use to purchase farm stand coupons for our clients during the summer. But with her permission, we use that money this year to purchase $16,000 worth of gift cards to start us off. So every client's been getting, initially when we first started, we didn't know how much money we were going to have. So they got a gift card anywhere between $50 and $100. Well, after 3 weeks, it was obvious that the donations kept coming in. So every client's been getting a gift card for $100 since the middle of March. And we have one more mailing of those going out at the end of this month. So that, and in addition to that, Amber from the school department has been coming to the pantry every week and picking up between 700 and 1,000 pounds of food that they're distributing to families that they've identified through the school system that also are food insecure. So we've been able to help that way. We have been working at the pantry for the last couple of weeks, getting it reorganized. It was a fair state of chaos after all of the work and the cleaning that was done. You know, you're talking hundreds and hundreds of boxes that were moved and stacked. Everything all had to be put back together and in the right order. That's all been done. So our anticipation of starting distribution at the pantry is next month on June 2nd. I'm sorry, June 4th.
Yep.
That's a Thursday. We'll be doing a pre-box distribution, similar to what you've seen on TV, where the cars will pull up outside. We'll have boxes of mostly all stable grocery items. Plus, every client will get a couple of bags of frozen items, one with hamburger and one with chicken, and then some other frozen items that we have. And they'll also be getting a gift card that time too, because if they want to go purchase milk or eggs, which we're not going to supply right now, they'll be able to go over to Stop and Shop or Roach Brothers.
Yep.
The boxes will all be the same. Thank you to Max Moving and Storage.
Oh.
They're the ones that supplying us with 250 boxes that we'll be able to give out to our clients.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't realize that, Phil. That they've always been a great partner in town, and they sort of find this unique way of kind of plugging themselves in. So that's fantastic.
We've seen that with a lot of other organizations and businesses. Everybody's willing to help. So, and they've always in the past too. So that's where we are. To this point, we intend on opening the pantry on July 2nd for clients to come in. We have for people who don't know what our pantry is like, there's two types of pantries. One's where you just go in, they give you a bag of food, and you're on your way, similar to Southborough and Grafton, because they're not in their own permanent building. They're usually in a church or another building, so they can't store items. So they go in, pack the items, and pass them out. We're fortunate where we can have a store, which it's small. It's just like going into a small convenience store, and they actually do their shopping. And the reason we do that is because we feel that if we give them a selection, they'll take what they want to eat. If you don't like green beans and I put a bag of green beans in your bag, you're not going to eat it. You'd much rather have corn. So that's why we want people to select. Our motto is take what you want, but eat what you take. So we think we get far more bang for our buck when we do it that way. So that's going to start a little different than we normally do. When we open our doors, there's usually 25 or 30 people waiting outside, and they all climb into a 10 by 15 foot area, and shoulder to shoulder. So that we can't. They'll have to stay outside. We're going to allow them to come in one at a time. They'll come in just like they normally did, come in, do all their shopping, get their meat, and get their gift card, and then head out. So that's where we are. And it's actually been almost as much work or even more at times than us being open on a regular basis.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, Shelby, can I just ask a question? Because I'm hearing the numbers of the food that you've provided in the past, and then these gift cards and the amounts, and they're astronomical. These are huge numbers. So I'm curious because from your sense of it, if you were looking forward, say to the rest of this year, right? And I realize this is just a total, off the top estimate. How much more do you think you would need in money in order to provide what you have been providing? If you make some assumptions about how that's going to go, what is your sense, so that people understand if they because there's going to be a need, and to the extent in the South, in Westborough, people have just stepped up clearly in a bunch of different ways to take care of the needs.
Well, to give you a rough idea, our budget on food that we purchase the course of the year is approximately $100,000. That's food. That's food that we purchase. That's not donations. So, every week before the pandemic hit, we had 147 families registered at the food pantry. Maybe 40% of those are seniors, and the rest are singles and families. So we had a big group to begin with. When I first got involved with the pantry a long time ago, and Mary, Emily, Libby, and Bill Libby started it from the church in 1986, we only had, I think, at the maximum way back then was close to 30 families. So we've grown a lot, and we still have our naysayers that say, "Oh, we don't need a food pantry in Westborough. This is Westborough. What do you mean?" But we see it all, believe me.
Right.
We anticipate that we're going to be very short of food come the end of the summer, because what has happened is we've lost the post office food drive, which is approximately 6,000 to 8,000 pounds of food. We lost all the food drives at the Westborough Public Schools, which they're our biggest food supplier in the course of the year. During the course of the year, they probably generate anywhere between 10 and 15,000 pounds of food for us. We lost the Wassa food drive, which they do, which is all brand new food. Plus, we lost all the weekly food donations from all the churches. So, we've lost maybe 25,000 pounds of food that we normally have to stock our shelves right now. So in addition to spending the money for the gift cards, we're going to have to spend money to purchase food.
Right.
Yeah, and I think
Right.
Arthur, to your point, so certainly the intent of the COVID-19 Community Fund had the food pantry squarely in mind, and folks can still donate to that. You can donate directly to the food pantry as well. They have a website. And In Your Shoes, which is another civic-minded, if you will, group here in town, they're working in partnership right now with the food pantry, and we'll get that email address up and maybe a little caption of it. But there's a food drive taking place on May 30th to support the reopening of the food pantry. And so folks can send an email to the email address that will be on the screen, westboroughfooddrive@gmail.com, and schedule a pickup. You're just going to leave your groceries at the end of the driveway. The folks from In Your Shoes will pick them up around 9 o'clock in the morning, and that will really help to start to restock in those donations that Phil was just talking about. But it is, when you start to hear the numbers, you sort of just go, oh my goodness, like what does it really take to support, an existing about 157 families, and certainly a number that is, that is growing pretty
Right.
At a surprisingly and sad rate, quite honestly. So
Right.
we can't
Right.
stop kind of giving and being generous, and we've always been really fortunate. Both residents and businesses, grocers, have worked closely with us, but that work continues and is greater now.
Yeah, because if you were, we're just going to your budget. If your budget had been 100,000 for the year, and you've got half of the year left, that's 50. Except that you've got to assume that you're going to have more demand. So plus just getting the donations of the food, and as you say, you've lost a lot of your anticipated just free food coming in from those drives. So that's a big number. So I'm really, it's wonderful that you're on, so that we can really be kind of plugging you as a donation spot.
Well, we've picked up 25 new families that we're supplying gift cards to every 3 weeks, and this week it was another 31 families through the schools. So if we add those together, another almost 60 families to what we have, we'll be at record levels when the food pantry reopens.
So I could sit and talk about food for a long time. Phil is a wealth of knowledge. We might want to have him come back at some point, give us an update on how they're doing as they've opened. So Phil will maybe schedule some time in July or August once you've reopened. But I want to encourage folks to maybe pick up a couple extra items, go to In Your Shoes, sign up for the food drive, and let's get the Westborough Food Pantry off to a great start with some food donations. $10 of donation, for example, goes a long way to helping to feed those who are food insecure.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Phil.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll be back shortly.
Okay.
Hi, folks. Welcome back to this edition of Frank and Mary, the COVID-19 edition. I'm so excited to have with us here as our second half guest, Mary Tabor from the Assabet Valley Pastoral Counseling Center. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Not unlike Phil, Mary and I have worked pretty closely together over the years, but most recently on many a Zoom call because Mary too is part of our town task force. And she's sort of like a mainstay in the community. People say, have you called Mary Tabor about that? She'll know someone. So she's one of those people, Arthur.
One of those. That's great. Pillars of the community. That's great.
Absolutely. Okay. So anyway, I wanted Mary to come on because the Pastoral Counseling Center has been around for a long, long time here in Westborough. I wanted her mental health. It's National Mental Health Month. This is a particularly challenging time for all that. We've talked about that across a number of our shows, and no one really knows that better than Mary because she and her team are facing that on the front line. So Mary, give us some background on the Pastoral Counseling Center and take it away.
Absolutely. And I'm thrilled to be able to do that, to spread the word that even though we are not seeing people face to face these days, we are still open and working on telehealth. So back in the 70s, the pastors at the local houses of faith wanted to have a local counseling center to refer parishioners to. And out of that came a connection with Worcester Pastoral Counseling, and we in Westborough became a satellite of their counseling center and opened on 8 Church Street back in 1979. And over the years, we went as a satellite of theirs to being independent and becoming the Assabet Valley Pastoral Counseling, and then we merged with them. As it turns out, it came full circle, and we merged with them in 2011 and renamed ourselves because of that, the Pastoral Counseling Centers of Massachusetts. So we have the 2 offices, one in Worcester and our main office at 7 Church Street in Westborough. And we see people from 70 to 80, sometimes 90 different towns and cities in central Massachusetts who come to us. We see people of all ages. We have 2 child therapists out of our 11 therapists, and so we really run the gamut. And because we're a pastoral counseling center, just a little piece of additional history, because we came out of the effort of the local houses of faith, they have supported us through the years with board members and with donations. And also all our therapists are people of faith, of one faith or another, so that each of us and all of us can speak comfortably with people who come looking for some support and counseling if they're people who want to use their faith in the counseling sessions to help them heal or work through whatever they're working through. So we're quite comfortable with that. That makes us a little unique in the field.
So Mary, one question folks may be wondering, myself included. So I'm one of those raised as a Catholic, struggling Catholic, on occasion go to that church, go to this church, whatever. I presume you don't have to choose a counselor of a particular faith. There's probably a matching process that you go through. And I also want to presume that faith may or may not be kind of part of a counseling program with a particular individual, but it's there as an additional option given your specialty. Is that fair to say?
You are absolutely right. That's a good comment and question. And we are a regular counseling agency, so people come with any or all faiths or people of no faith. Mm-hmm. And we probably see split down the middle, 50-50 on that. And so you're right. It's only if the person coming has that desire to bring that up and to utilize that in the session.
Wonderful. That's great. That's excellent. So, Mary, talk to us a little bit, talk to the folks, out there who, may be struggling. I think it's, I always wonder, at what point does an individual say, I kind of can't do this on my own. You know, I'm feeling isolated, and we talked about this as a task force the other day. It's not about seniors. It's not about families. It's just about people that are feeling isolated. And I worry about, you know, people that get to a breaking point, whatever point that is, and almost not knowing when they should reach out to someone like yourself to say, I need some help.
Well, this is certainly a unique time. All of us realize that, and the stressors are incredible. So there's probably a lot more need than there ever was, but there's always been need because we all as humans have difficult times at some points in our lives and hard times. Things hit us that we don't expect, or we go through losses, whether it's job loss or divorce or loss of a loved one, loss of a relationship, or if our fear is coming to rule our lives, or if depression and anxiety are affecting what we do. Sometimes it's just somebody wants to check in and feel the support and need to sort out a few things in their lives. You know, it can be that average, mundane, simple thing. But these days, there is so much stress and anxiety. Anxiety is actually the biggest reason that people are coming.
And does one need a referral from a primary care to work with someone on your team? And do you do private pay? Do you accept insurance? How does that all work?
Good question. You don't need a referral at all. We get referred from other clients, from insurance companies, from primary care doctors, neighbors, family people, word of mouth. And so all anyone has to do is call our confidential line, which I know you'll post at 366-4000. And within 24 hours, anyone should have a response from us.
Go ahead, Arthur, go ahead.
I just had a kind of in terms of need for counseling. So this morning I got the call regarding the 10th client of mine so far who has died from COVID-19. So my clients are entirely seniors, and obviously this is what we've learned. This is the vulnerable population. 2 months ago, we were kind of scratching our heads. Is it going to kill us all? It was these terrible numbers, and now it's clearer. Many parts of society are kind of feeling like they can unwind. Not my people, right? Not my people. They were the remaining vulnerable folks. So I'm curious. Have you been getting much of that, of folks who are just literally, mom just died, my partner just died, and or feel people who are being kind of overwhelmed by the fear of that, as it is becoming clear that this population is the really vulnerable population. And then and what if you could suggest something, what do you tell those folks? How do you help them deal with that?
Well, good questions and comments. And we have always seen folks who have suffered loss in their family, and grief and loss is one of the main reasons that we see folks at the counseling center, and a good reason to come talk it out with somebody. But interestingly, during this time, in the end of March, and we closed for seeing face-to-face people mid-March, and in the last 2 weeks in March and most of April, we had very few referrals, which was interesting to me. But I think we were all in such shock and just trying to cope at home with whatever was going on and wondering what was coming next. But this month in May, the referrals have picked up, and they are people obviously overstressed and coming for a whole variety of reasons, not just the ones that you mentioned. We do, both answering your question and Shelby's comment before, we do take most insurances, everything except for Mass Health, but we also have a sliding scale if somebody doesn't have insurance or can't use their insurance for some reason. And if they qualify, we have a sliding scale, and we also have an assistance fund to help with that. So we have lots of therapists who take Medicare and are seeing older folk. And they are continuing to come during this COVID time. And so it's all the above, you know, nothing that was going on before COVID-19 has stopped in people's lives. It's just added a whole
That's
other.
for sure. Yeah,
That's for sure.
that's so true. I feel like in some ways I have these moments of my day where, I mean, it is so crazy, but then I have these moments where I feel like I'm sort of like slogging through like mud. And it feels like it's the longest day, but yet other parts of life have just been put on hold, and yet so many things have been sort of stacked on top of us to contemplate. You know, whether you're, I mean, even just the stress of someone who may be immunocompromised, going out to the grocery store. I mean, that can bring with it a host of anxiety. Standing in line, waiting your turn to get into the store, you know, a host of anxiety. The money aspect. Go ahead, Mary.
I want to get in a short reading that I have
Please.
To leave you all with, and I know time is running out, but you know, one of the things that we can all do, and we've all heard, but we need reminding, is to breathe. It helps with anxiety. It helps with the fear and worry that's going on. And it's incredible that just taking slow, deep breaths can lower 7 different counts in the body, like heart rate and blood pressure, cortisol. So just taking a few moments to deep breathe is very helpful. And I'd like to just share this very brief
That'd be great.
reading that's called, "Oh God, I'm Spinning Out," a prayer. And it's part of a reading by Reverend Dr. Hannah Adams Ingram, who is the chaplain at Franklin College in Franklin, Indiana. She gave this in March. "There is so much I do not know. There is so much I cannot see. There is so much I cannot control. In the moments I feel powerless, I will take a deep breath, trusting that I am tasked only with doing my part, not the whole. In the moments I feel unsure, I will take a deep breath, trusting that I am not alone and that together our wisdom will be richer. In the moments I feel anxious, I will take a deep breath, trusting that there is no depth I can fall out of reach of the spirit that holds me close. What I do know is that my life and love and worth extend far beyond my work. What I can see is that spring follows every winter and new life pokes out from cold ground. What I can control is my breath and the love I inject into a world so clearly lacking it."
Wow.
So I love
That's
that
beautiful.
she mentions breath, because that is something we can control. We just often need to just bring it down to that.
I think Shelby and I were both taking a breath as you were doing that. That was amazing.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful way to end. Thank you.
So I
Shelby.
just want to encourage folks, if there is if you're wondering who to call, Mary gave the number. We'll make sure that's up on the screen. Call the Pastoral Counseling Center, 508-366-4000. Start a conversation with them. Been around for a long time, trusted, grounded group. I think you see that from Mary here. And Mary, I want to thank you. Thank you for passing on some healing words and reassuring words today. Thank you for being our guest.
Thank you.
And thank you. And thank you, Shelby, for doing this.
Great.
You just keep doing this. Keep finding these wonderful folks.
Awesome.
So, folks, thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the next installment of Frank and Mary here in Westborough. Take a breath.